Hello everyone, and welcome back to another how-to video for Hawk's Makerspace. Today we're going to work on making a kaleidoscope, and it's a fairly simple one. We actually do this with the grade 4s, and last year we worked on a different type that was very complicated, and this year we've really simplified it. And I hope I have all the parts I need, and this might take a little longer than our previous videos because there's a little more involved, which is why I brought my coffee. And so let's start. And basically you're going to need a tube of some kind, and for our purposes our tubes are approximately 19 to 20 centimeters long, and diameter is about 4.5 centimeters, which for our non-metric friends is maybe about 1.75 inches. It doesn't have to be that size, but it's a good size for the opening to use, and it's actually a good size to handle when making the kaleidoscope. And if you don't have these tubes, another thing you can do is just roll paper. Just get a bigger sheet of construction paper and just roll it up so it's a little thick, and then just cut it whatever length you want, and you can actually use one of these tubes as a template when you roll it up to make it this size. Okay, now the first thing you're going to need to do is you need to make a triangular prism for the inside. Okay, and I've made mine ahead of time, and you'll catch on very quickly how this works. What I have is just 3 separate panels like this. Okay, there's 1, 2, 3, and they're almost the same length as this, and I just made them just a little bit shorter. Now this is a lot of trial and error. Okay, so the kids will actually have to do a lot of thinking about this, and they can cut the panels and they can tape them together and they can try to fit them in, and if it's too big then they might realize that, oh, I need to make them a little smaller. And ideally each panel needs to be the same width. Okay, it needs to be somewhat identical. So yeah, they may end up cutting 2 or 3 different prisms to fit into the tube, but that's okay because that's all part of it. It's a very tricky thing to figure out what dimension a triangular prism should be to fit inside a cylinder or inside a tube. And in grade 4 they're not quite there in terms of doing the actual math to figure it out, so trial and error is an awesome way to do this. Okay, and so mine fits reasonably well. It's not too tight, and I think I did this over, I did a couple of times, practice runs. So this is about, and I have to give you metric on this one, this is about 4 centimeters, and I think I started with each one being maybe 5 centimeters long, and then I cut it back down to see if that would fit. Okay, so this does take a bit of time. Now the other cool thing about this is using some mirror paper. Okay, and this is what I'm using right here, and it took me a little while to figure out which one I wanted to use, and I'm not getting paid by these guys, but this is the one I found works really well. It's called Tech Wrap, TECKWRAP, and one of the biggest reasons I settled on this one is because it obviously is very shiny, very mirror finished, but it also has a peel back. Okay, so the pieces can actually stick onto the cardstock that I use. Oh, by the way, sorry, I actually use cardstock for my prism because it's just a little tougher, a little stronger, and you can peel the back off and it can actually stick on your cardstock. So when you cut the piece the right size, you can stick it on without using glue, which is ideal because then you don't have the mess of dealing with that. Okay, and the other great feature about this is it has a really thin film on the outside of the roll, so that once you're ready to actually close it up and put it in your cylinder, then you can peel the protective coating off. So it really prevents any scratching, which makes for a great kaleidoscope, because there's nothing worse than having a scratched up dull piece of mirror finish on the inside. So even for fingerprints and whatnot and things that might spill on it. So that's why I chose that one. So remember, that's the thing you need when you're making the kaleidoscope, something that's self-adhesive and also has a film on the outside that you can peel off. Okay, and then once you've built that, your panels, and your prism is the right size, then you've put your silver paper or your mirror chrome paper on it. All you do is just tape them together. Okay, so that's why we made this in 3 panels. It's just so that we can tape the prism together. Okay, like this. Okay, just 3 pieces should be plenty, because the cylinder will actually hold it together really, really well. And one more. So what I've done is, as I've built this, I've put 3 pieces of tape on each edge. Okay, and you may even want to get the kids to draw this before they put it in, make a sketch of it, you know, in terms of maybe an engineering drawing of what they've made. And then you will insert it, and if you look up, you'll see that the light is reflecting off all the sides, which is perfect. That's exactly what you want to do. Okay, and now we will leave this off to the side. And this took a little bit of research to figure this out, because we wanted something that would fit in the bottom. Okay, and also something that could hold some beads, some translucent beads. And as you can see, as I'm turning this, it's it's moving back and forth, which is ideal for a good kaleidoscope to have all the movement. And I've just used translucent beads in this one. I want to make a couple more prototype ends like this with maybe some silver colored beads, something that may not be translucent, just to see if it makes a difference or if the effect is different. You know, before we let the kids work on this one, so that they have a choice of what ones to use. Now, the best thing that I found so far, and you might find something different, which is great, are these little lids that you get when you buy a salad, for example, and it comes with a container with salad dressing. These are the lids that go on those containers. And I bought these at it's a restaurant supply store. They're super cheap. You can buy a sleeve for next to nothing. And they're really, really good. So each kaleidoscope will need 2. Okay, one is going to be the base of it, and the other one you're going to have to cut. Now it's kind of hard to see because this is clear. Okay, but there's ridges on here, and there's it's kind of concave on this spot. So you want the two parts that go on the container to kind of go together like this. Because if you do that, then it creates a space on the inside, a nice space that can hold the beads. Okay, so this is the trickiest part. And yes, the kids might have a few fails on this, but what you need to do is you're going to cut it out so that you have the bottom cup portion of it, okay, that the beads are going to fit in. So what I'm going to do is I want to cut the edges. I need my glasses for this one, otherwise I might cut in the wrong spot. Okay, that's better. So what we do is we go around. Actually, I'm going to cut it wide first, and then I'm going to trim it just to make it easier. And this will be the hardest part for the kids to work on or to understand. Okay, now I've cut it just a little bit too big. As you can see, this is the way it fits on the container when you have your salad dressing like this. Okay, and I still want to trim this other lip so that I have just a flange on it to hold the beads in. Okay, that's going to work pretty good. So you'll end up with this. It kind of looks like maybe like a little hat. Okay, and the idea is to flip the other lid upside down and put this one on top so that you'll have a space. And I have a few beads that I can put it in and show you. So if I put a few beads in like this, these are a little big, but they should work just fine. Okay, And if I close it up like this, then they'll turn around like this, okay? And the mistake I made is putting hot glue on the edge first and then closing it up. And then you run into the problem of the beads, some of the beads sticking to the glue. So my suggestion is to have the kids close it up like this first, and then hang on to it with one hand, okay, where they want it, and then take the glue gun and just dab pieces of glue around the outside and to hold on to it until it dries, okay? And then once it dries, then they can take it and spin it around, or just put hot glue around the outside of it, okay? Now, they want to try to keep the glue away from the top part of this container piece, okay? You want to keep the glue away from the top part if you can, because what you're going to try to do is you're going to try to slide it in so it connects, okay? So I'll show you on this one. So this one's a bit of a messy glue job, okay? And we want the tube to fit into the outside, and it won't fit perfect, and we've solved that problem with something really, really simple, and I'll show you in a second. So once that's done, okay, and it's a little pouch, you may find another way to make a little pouch, because that's really all you're doing, is you're making a pouch, clear plastic pouch that the beads can roll around in, okay? Now you're not going to be turning this, you're going to be turning the whole thing around, okay? And what you do is it's going to go in like this, okay? And I didn't glue this one in purposely just so that it could be taken apart. And I think I did it on this side. Yes, I did. Now, I noticed that when we put this on, it wasn't fitting quite right. And what I did then, because we can, is I pushed this out a little and I made a few cuts in my tube so it would actually expand a little bit, okay, to just loosen it a little. And then I put it in and found that I could actually fit it in very, very nicely. Okay, that actually sits in really nice. And then once they're happy with it, okay, they can put it on a table, push it down a little bit, and they can put some glue in it, okay, to hold it in. And that kind of is the point of no return. Meaning that once they've glued it in, then they need to be happy with it, because that's it. However, there is a fix, because if they do have a problem and maybe it breaks or something happens, all they have to do is take out their cylinder, and just with a X-Acto knife, box cutter, we can just cut the end off and they can just start over again. They may have to shorten their prism, but that's okay. And then once they've done that, and they look through their prism, okay, for some reason it's a little tight right now, it's okay. Okay, now, and then all they do is look through, I dropped one, and once they look up to the light, they'll be able to see, it's kind of hard to see, but when you turn it around, things are moving, and the mirror finish is actually working. And then simply all you do, because the opening is so big, and this is a really crude last minute thing, we just take a piece of cardstock, okay, and cut it the same size. You know, they can trace it if they want, and we just covered the ends so that there's only a hole to look through when you look through the prism, okay? And I think because they're grade 4, they can actually make a nice little lid for it that has an end on it that slides on, okay? They can just clean that up nicely, and they can just tape it on. It doesn't need to be glued on. And once they're finished, it works really, really well. Some of you may have seen the video that I posted on Twitter showing the inside, and I was actually very surprised how well it worked. But I'm actually looking forward to trying a couple of prototypes with different beads in the bottom. As I said, some that are not transparent or translucent with the light going through. So we'll have to try those and see how that works. But that's it. And hopefully this helped. If you have any questions, by all means, you can reach me through Twitter or a message on this YouTube channel. And I hope your kids have fun making this. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.